Welcome to the first decluttering video and what I'm referring to as my Konmari 2.0 series, where I go back and revisit the Konmari method 4 years after the first time that I did it. As I mentioned, this is the first decluttering video in the series. It's actually the second video in the series overall, because I already posted one video last week where I introduced the method, talked about what I learned from it last time, talked about what I do and don't like about it, all that kind of good stuff. So if you missed it and you want to hear my thoughts on the KonMari method in general, I will leave a link up in the cards to the playlist so you can go check that out. If you're unfamiliar with the KonMari method and you didn't watch my introduction video, no worries, here's a very quick explanation of the method. Okay, very quick, oversimplified explanation of the KonMari method if you're not familiar with it. The core of it is that there are two steps, discarding and organization. You do them separately and you do them by category, not by location in your home. The basis of your decision making is to focus on what sparks joy and keep that, rather than focusing on what you want to get rid of. So the method goes by category, and the first category up is clothing. So in this video, I'm going to be decluttering my clothing based on the guidelines set out in the KonMari method. So without any further ado, let's jump into the declutter, in which you will very quickly realize I'm filming this much later because in the next clip, my hair will be significantly longer. All right, so it's finally time to start the declutter, beginning of course with tops. Now, when I declutter my tops, I actually divide it up into two separate categories. Firstly, like t-shirts, long sleeve t-shirts, anything that falls within that realm. Secondly, hoodies, sweaters, anything that's a heavier material, that's gonna go in the second category. I do hang up some t-shirts in here because they crease really badly when they're folded, but most of them are across the room in my dresser. So this drawer and this drawer are where almost all of my t-shirts are stored. I also have some shirts up here that are like sleep shirts that I'm going to include in this as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab all of the shirts within this category from the hamper, from the closet, from the dresser, and I'm going to throw them on the ground in the living room and we're going to get started. All right, so this is the pile of all of the shirts. Obviously, some of them are folded and some of them are not, so it's hard to get a real sense of just how much is here, but I can't tell if I'm surprised by how much there is or if I feel like there's less than I thought there was. Maybe I just feel like this is about as much as I thought I had. Now, one thing Marie Kondo does when consulting a client in their home is that once they've gathered up all the items within a category, she tells them to do one last pass to make triple sure they have everything, because if they come across another item that should fit in this category later after decluttering, they have to discard it automatically. So make sure after you grab everything, you do another pass just to make sure you haven't missed anything, because although you don't necessarily have to keep that rule for yourself, it does say something if you totally forgot an item existed when grabbing everything. So I'm gonna start this declutter with one of the tips that I found really intriguing in Spark Joy. If you didn't catch my introduction video to this series, here's a clip from that explaining it. She suggests that for any given category, you start by picking your 3 favorite items, or the 3 items that most spark joy for you. And you use these 3 items as the basis for what sparking joy means to you. So I'm going to go through this pile in front of me, pick out my 3 favorite items, and we'll go from there.
5 minutes later.
I have my 3. They're not overly surprising, but it wasn't exactly what I was expecting going into this. So the easy immediate grab was this all-time low t-shirt. It is probably my favorite t-shirt I own. It's just like really comfy. It's a really nice loose fit. I've had it for quite a while. I love the bluish gray tie-dye. It's just, I love this shirt. The next one is going to be like the biggest eye roll for most people watching this, but it is a black t-shirt from Old Navy. I have lots of these. I wear them all the time, but this one's my favorite because it's from their previous sizing where it fits just a little bit looser. It's a little bit more baggy, a little bit more comfortable. Their new sizing is just a bit more snug and it still fits. I just prefer the way this one fits. Also, some of my older ones are a little worn, a little pilled. This one's still really nice and soft. And then there's the semi-surprise, which is this plaid that I have. It's a spliced plaid, so it's all black and white, but this one has a different pattern than over here. And it's just got multiple different patterns on it. And I just love this shirt. I rarely wear it because I work in an office that's freezing, so this really lightweight material just doesn't do the job, but I love this shirt. So those are my basis for sparking joy. And based on how difficult it was to choose those, this is going to be a really difficult task. It's going to take a while. Last thing, pro tip, if you are like me and feeling overwhelmed right now, this is what I'm going to do. Start with things that are obvious. While grabbing things, if something jumped out to you as, oh, this doesn't spark joy, oh, I don't really think I still like this, start there because it's kind of an obvious thing that jumped out to you. It's probably more advisable to do the opposite, like if something jumped out to you as one of your favorite things while grabbing them, start there. But I noticed a lot more things that I thought I was going to immediately discard. So that's where I'm going to start. You might want to do the opposite. Let's jump into it. I don't know if anyone else has had a problem with this lately, but I recently got this Danganronpa shirt because I love Danganronpa. It has a bit of a looser fit. It's a little bit long in the sleeves, but I really like it, except the fact that it is like 5 foot long. Like a shirt should stop right here or like right here. Why is this a dress? I will say I purchased this with the intent to take it and get it hemmed so that it is shorter to a normal shirt length, but I've had so many problems finding t-shirts lately because they're all like 10 feet long. Why? Why is this a thing? Who does this fit? Like it should literally be like this long. This is the correct length of a shirt, and instead it's this. I'm back with a mid-declutter update. As I've said many times, one of the best things about the Konmari method, in my opinion, is tidying by category, not by location. Because when you group a category together, you're constantly comparing similar items to each other, and it makes it easier to tell what sparks joy and what doesn't. But I do want to point out the concept of decision fatigue. It's exactly what it sounds like. Basically, making a ton of decisions back to back can exhaust your mind, and it can lead to you making poorer decisions the more and more decisions you make. So if you're finding as you go along that you're starting to have more difficulty making decisions, or if you realize that you're just discarding everything or just keeping everything, maybe take a pause, take a break, get something to eat, just stop making decisions for just a little while, and then come back to it once you've, taken your break. Anyway, I also wanted to talk about some of the patterns I'm noticing as I'm going through. Firstly, there's like an entire category of shirts that I ended up completely just throwing in the discard pile, and those are all of these K-pop shirts that I have gotten online that just aren't exactly what I signed up for. Firstly, I want you to listen to this. That's not comfortable to have on the front of your shirt, and that's why I've never worn this shirt. I just have a couple of shirts like this where I made the mistake of buying something that ended up being kind of like a cheap reproduction of what I wanted, and I didn't really realize that going into buying it, so I ended up with this. Another thing about shirts like this is that they're often made of this really stiff material that really feels more like, I don't know, like a costume fabric, just not normal clothing fabric. And it's a shame because I liked these designs, they just are not comfortable shirts. One thing I'm noticing is one of the biggest reasons I'm discarding things is based on the fit. Like if something fits a little bit too snug, I don't want to put it on, I don't want to wear it, I don't like having it on. So a lot of those things are ones that I don't wear often, and I've ended up discarding pretty much all of those. The next stuff I have to go through is this lovely pile of like 8-ish plain black t-shirts. I wear them all the time. I think all fit well. I just don't know, does that necessarily mean they spark joy if I wear them all the time? I mean, or does that just mean they're easy to throw on? This might be where my own personal decision fatigue sets in, and I might need to take a break before I jump into these, because I'm not sure how to compare these at this moment. We'll see. So as you can probably tell, it's the next day. Basically, last night I finished with the shirts, and then I went to go grab food before filming like a wrap-up clip for this section, and something just felt off. Like while I was driving to go get food, while I was coming back, something just felt off and I wasn't sure what. When I got home, I realized it was the black t-shirts. I had gone through all my black t-shirts, the plain black ones that I talked about, and I decided that all of them spark joy and to keep all of them. Like I said, I wear them all the time, so I'm fine having a lot of them. They get a lot of use. It means that I have to do laundry less. But I definitely felt very conflicted when going through them because I had this real battle between a lot of my older ones that I feel like fit a lot better and they just feel more comfortable even though they're a little bit more beaten up, versus the newer ones that feel nice and soft and new but don't quite just fit the same way as the old ones. So I decided to sleep on it and leave them be and come back to it in the morning. And I also decided to try something potentially ill-advised. I went to Old Navy today and I decided to try on the size I normally get, a small, and also a medium, to see how they felt. I thought my normal size, the small, looked better, while the slightly larger size, medium, felt better. Like I said, probably not the best idea to go out and buy shirts to compare to the ones you already own, but whether it was sleeping on it and coming back to it the next day, or whether it was literally the comparison of the new shirts, it actually helped me to get some clarity on this whole black t-shirt situation. I went through all of my plain black t-shirts, including the new ones I bought, did a ranking of them, and something became immediately clear. Firstly, my older shirts are slightly longer, maybe only half an inch to an inch, but I feel like I like where they hit on me more than the new ones. Also, my old smalls fit a lot more like the new mediums they sell than the new smalls, so they've definitely made their sizes smaller. The new medium is slightly baggier, but I have a feeling it'll shrink a little bit in the wash because some of the new smalls that I have and have already washed are slightly smaller than the small that I bought today. See the problem with sizing? And the long and short of it is that even though they're a bit older and a little bit more beaten up, I like the way that I feel in the old smalls that I have. So those are my favorites. I am going to be discarding one of my newer smalls just because I think it shrunk a lot in the wash and it is very snug and does not make me feel comfortable. So I think I'm gonna get rid of that one. But all the other ones I'm gonna keep because upon a second look today, they were all fine. I don't know why I felt so conflicted yesterday, but I feel, now that I've gone through them again, I feel very confident about keeping all of them. That said, yesterday when I was feeling really iffy about what I wanted to do, I did throw several shirts that I decided to keep into a maybe pile. I'm gonna go through those now and make a decision on them. So I finished going through the shirts. I did count out of curiosity and I ended up discarding about 25 shirts and I ended up keeping about 45 shirts. So that's roughly me getting rid of about a third of my shirts, maybe a little bit more than that. And that's honestly surprising to me. As I went through and counted everything, I noticed that a large chunk of the shirts I decided to discard are ones that I probably have never worn or have only worn once. Because honestly, a lot of them, as I was looking at them, are ones that I bought online that ended up not being exactly what I expected them to be, or they didn't fit the way I wanted them to, or like those K-pop ones that I showed you with the weird crinkly designs on them. And I really wish the moral of the story could be to stop buying so many things online. But the problem is that I love having like clothes from my favorite fandoms, and a lot of those just aren't sold in stores. And looking at my pile of tops that did spark joy, a lot of those are ones I bought online too. So the problem is that sometimes you buy something online and it doesn't show up as what you expected it to, and I think I just need to be better about recognizing that when I get it and being able to return it quickly. I think that is possibly the moral of the story. Anyway, that's it for tops. I am going to try to go through the rest of my clothing today, but I am going to take a break right now and I will get back with you later. Just wanted to quickly show you all of my shirts that I decided to keep all folded and put on hangers. I was hoping I'd be able to fit all of these in one drawer. I think I'm still gonna have to do two. That said, I'm not gonna put away the shirts until I have gone through the rest of my clothes because I might want to fiddle around with where I keep things. So I'm just gonna leave them there for now until I'm finished with the rest of the stuff. Really quick before I grab my hoodies and sweaters from my closet to start going through them, I have a lazy person's tip for keeping your space tidy. It's one rule and one system that I've put in place. Firstly, the rule is that clothes do not go on the ground. Never, ever, ever do clothes go on the ground. I used to be that person that would come home at the end of the day, change into something comfy, and throw whatever I'd been wearing that day on the ground and just leave it there and do that several days in a row until I got tired of seeing it and then tidied. But then the next day I did the exact same thing and let it pile up again. So I don't allow myself to put clothes on the ground ever. And then number two, the system I've put in place are these two hampers. The small one on the right is where I put any clothes that can be reworn before being washed. And then this big hamper over here is where I put anything that needs to be washed before I can reuse it. I wait till this hamper gets full and then I do laundry. And then every Sunday I clean out this hamper and put away all the clothes back to where they actually belong. This is a really great system if you're naturally lazy like me, because it lets you have that feeling of laziness because you're literally just tossing your clothes somewhere, but it allows you to keep that laziness out of your space. You're not throwing it on the ground, you're throwing it into a hamper. Logically, yes, my brain knows that it only takes like 2 seconds to hang something back up, but that action still causes friction because it is seen as like cleaning up. And so it's really easy to just not do it and to fall back into laziness. Whereas this system allows you to be a little bit lazy without compromising your tidiness. It also helps me to remember what I've worn earlier that week and not accidentally repeat a hoodie or an outfit. This isn't a method that's going to work for everyone, but if you are lazy, it can help to remove the friction from keeping your space tidy, which is always helpful. Here's my pile of hoodies and sweaters, and I am already feeling overwhelmed. I'm that person that always gets cold, and not just that, I also somehow managed to get the cold desk in the office because it's right by the AC. So regardless of how warm it is outside, I'm basically wearing hoodies year round to work. So because of that, lately when I've gone to buy new clothing, I've actually been focusing a lot more on hoodies than on t-shirts. So a lot of these are fairly new. So I think these are going to be easier to go through than t-shirts because I can already think of 1 or 2 that might already be one of those top 3 favorites. And also, I literally wear these all the time. Only 1 or 2 of them are ones I haven't worn recently. So we can look at that and see if those are worth keeping. But I think honestly, a lot of these are gonna stay. I don't want to jinx myself, but we'll see. As expected, picking my top 3 was a really quick process. I immediately grabbed this hoodie, which is definitely my favorite hoodie at the moment. Firstly, this material is like the softest material ever. I don't know what they did to it, but it is luxurious. And I love the splatter paint. I just fell in love with this the second I saw it and felt it. It's perfect. Then there's this one with my favorite band's logo on it. And then my most recent one, which is the community logo with the cast in their 8-bit form on it. So those are my top 3. Like I said, super easy to choose. I even had a 4th that I almost wanted to include. So I think this is gonna be a lot smoother than the shirts. Don't wanna overhype it, probably already have. Let's just jump into it. So I just finished going through my hoodies and sweaters and I got rid of a grand total of 2. There were a grand total of 2 things in that pile that didn't spark joy. Clearly I'm doing something right with my hoodies that I'm not doing right with my shirts at all. Honestly, the fact that there were only 2 items I didn't want to keep has me a bit paranoid. Like, is my gauge broken? Like, do I know what I'm looking for? Or do all of these things genuinely spark joy and I just need to stop worrying about it? My gut says that it's fine and I genuinely like all the things I decided to keep, but the fact that there's only 2 items here just really concerns me. I mean, I went into this saying that I knew I probably wouldn't get rid of very many, but usually I say that and then I get rid of a ton, and that didn't happen this time. I need to not worry about it. I decided these things spark joy. I believe they do. It's just the fact that I only discarded 2 things has me a little paranoid. All right, so here's my pile of all of my pants plus my favorite joggers that I'm wearing. So these I've already decided spark joy so that I could wear them while doing this. Definitely a much smaller pile than the last 2, but I feel like I wear a much smaller percentage of these, so this will be interesting. And this time I'm not going to do a top 3 because a lot of my pants are honestly pretty similar. So I'm just gonna dive in. So I'm currently going through my pants and trying them on to make sure they spark joy. And I just wanted to quickly show you this outfit because I don't have like a full-on air quote uniform like a lot of people that are really famous do, like Michael Kors, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, people like that. But this is like essentially my uniform. I definitely don't wear it every single day, but like this is my go-to. Plain black t-shirt, black skinny jeans. This is just super easy for me to throw on and immediately feel comfortable and confident. And like with a lot of those uniforms, this is just super simple. So yeah, definitely not like an everyday thing for me, but if I were to pick my air quote uniform, it would be this. All right, pants are complete. I will overlay a shot of the completed pants here. Again, not much of a change. The only one I'm fully discarding is this pair of pants that I have literally never worn that still has the tags. And then I have these 2 pairs of pants that I'm going to put on probation. I've fallen out of some of my healthier habits recently and I'm trying to get back into them. But as a result, these are fitting a bit more snug than they usually do. And since I am trying to get back into being healthier, I don't want to completely get rid of these. So if we reach the end of 2021 and these still fit a bit more snug than I would prefer them to, I will be officially discarding them. Thankfully, we're now nearing the home stretch for the clothes and we're moving on to jackets, which should be pretty simple because I have 5 of them that I've already laid out on the ground. Okay, here are the 5 coats / jackets. And literally just by looking at these, I can tell you which 3 spark joy and which 2 don't. Any guesses? This is a tough one. I loved this coat. I wore this coat until it was literally falling apart. I even tried looking online to see if I could find another one of these so I could buy it and still have one, but I couldn't find it. So for that love and that nostalgia, it's really hard to part with it, but it literally is falling apart and is unwearable. So I really can't reason myself into keeping this as much as I used to love it. But it was well used and well loved for many years. On the opposite end, we have this monstrosity. When I moved to a colder environment, my mom forced me to buy a big puffy coat, and I haven't worn it a single time. I understand the practicality of those, but I hate them. Now, I do like the look of those really long padded ones. I could be convinced into buying one of those eventually, but that one just is a big no. And then there are these 3 that I love and wear a lot, so I'm gonna obviously be keeping these. Okay, so since I already knew that I needed to hang up my jackets and coats, my hoodies, my jeans, and a couple of shirts, I decided to go ahead and hang those up in the closet because it's not like I need to debate about where to store those because they hang up, they go in the closet. And I think in putting them in there, I think I've discovered the elusive click point because they all just kind of fit in there perfectly. Nothing's smushed together. It just looks very nice and organized. Now, although bags and shoes are considered part of the clothing category, I think the last things I'm gonna tackle tonight are gonna be the last 2 categories of like actual clothing, which are undergarments and socks. Obviously the former I'm gonna go through off camera. Socks are not super exciting, but let's do it. All right, so here are my socks. As you can see, I definitely do not follow the KonMari method of folding them. Instead of balling them up, I ball them all up. I did try the folding method for a while and I don't remember why I stopped. I think it may have just been convenience. I didn't hate it, it was fine. That said, I do think I am gonna try folding my socks again just because I wanna see how it changes the amount of space that the socks take up. Shocking absolutely no one, I'm keeping these socks and I'm discarding 3 pairs of socks. Basically, these old Harry Potter socks that I never wear that are pretty frayed and just destroyed. And I generally just wear black socks all the time just because it matches better. All right, I'm calling it quits for the night, at least for the actual discarding part of this. Now I'm gonna start trying to store these things and organize these things since I am done with the clothing section for all intents and purposes. Obviously, I did already hang all of the hanging things as I showed you earlier. That to me is not me putting the cart before the horse and organizing before I'm done discarding, because I had already discarded and gone through all of the things that were going to be hung. And now I've officially finished going through all the items that need to be folded, and I'm gonna try to finish organizing them tonight because I literally will not be able to stand the sight of this apartment if there are clothes all over the place tomorrow when I come home from work and need my chill minimalist environment. Honestly, 90% of my motivation to get through all of my folded clothes today is just because it's been stressing me out to have them all over my apartment all of last night and today. I hate how cluttered it feels in here having everything out, and I cannot wait for it to be put away in its proper place, whatever that new place is. Obviously, I'll still be going through bags, accessories, shoes in this video, just not right now and not until after I've gotten all of the actual clothing up off my floor. So I'm probably gonna spend the rest of my evening dealing with the organization of all of this junk, and then I'll show it to you tomorrow and then go through the rest of her clothing section. As promised, here's my dresser reorganized. As you can see, this drawer is where I have all of my plain black shirts, and this is where I put anything that had a logo on it. The rest of this row is actually full. They're just in the laundry right now. And this is where I have all of my like leggings, yoga pants, joggers, shorts, stuff like that. I'm not going to show you the inside of this drawer because it does have undergarments in it, but I did decide to try folding my socks, and they fit perfectly width-wise, so I'm gonna keep it like that and see how much I like it going forward. And I do feel like I did hit a click point with everything in my dresser, just like I did with the stuff in my closet, so I'm feeling really good so far. All right, so it's a couple days later. I needed a day off from decluttering yesterday because I just did not have the mental energy to do it when I got home from work. But I've now only got 3 categories left in the clothing, and I'm just ready to tear through them. All 3 of these categories are pretty small for me, so I'm gonna try going through them on camera. I thought that might be an interesting change of pace, might be something new to try. We'll see how it works. So without any further ado, let's jump into bags. Okay, this is as good as I could get on the angle. Hopefully this works. I only have a handful of bags, and each of them serves a really specific purpose. This one used to be my school backpack, and now I use it when I travel. Obviously not much travel going on lately, but we're getting back there and I'm fully vaccinated, so I'm ready. Then there's this bag that I didn't even bother to take stuff out of because this is the one I take to work every day. And then I have a singular purse that I use when shopping sometimes. I have a wallet case, so I generally just don't take a bag at all, but if I use one, it's that one. I also just found these tote bags in my closet that I forgot I had, so these count too. Starting with this one as it's the easiest one. I bought this like 5 years ago and didn't realize my laptop didn't fit in it, and literally held on to it so long that now I have a laptop that fits in it, and the second I could use this, I did. So I love this bag, I'm keeping it. Then there's this one, which I've been using for years and years. It has so much space when I travel. It's perfect, it's great, I love it. Full disclosure, I'm not sure when I last used this. This receipt's from 2018, so that's 3 years ago. Part of me feels like this fulfills a specific purpose that nothing else I own does, but part of me also wonders when that purpose actually came up. And as far as purses go, I actually really like this one, so I think this one sparks joy for me and I will keep it. But I will probably throw away absolutely everything inside of it because it is all trash. And finally, for the bags, we have this hanger of tote bags. The music equals life phase. I think I'm comfortably out of that phase and I can move on from this. This is one from grad school that's a great library bag. Currently, I don't have to use a library bag because I literally just get my holds at work because I work at a library. But I really like this one and it's nostalgic, so I'm gonna keep this one. But I think I am gonna discard this one from a musicology conference that I went to back in 2015. Again, this is back when I was planning on studying musicology in grad school, which I eventually dropped. So I feel like in some ways I'm kind of hanging on to the past by hanging on to this. That said, the conference, great memories. I went with my best friend Sarah and one of our favorite professors. It was a great weekend, but I don't need to hang on to that to retain that memory. Okay, that is the bags sorted. Not sure if this angle is better or worse, but regardless, we're moving on to accessories. Now, one mistake I did make the first time through is that when I saw accessories, I thought it meant like all accessories, like necklaces, bracelets, rings, but this section is specifically for like clothing accessories like scarves, hats, gloves. There's a later section in kimono for like rings and jewelry and stuff like that. And since I don't have any scarves and I hate most hats, this category is pretty small for me. I have 4 beanies, aka the only type of hat I actually like, and 1 pair of gloves. I do have another pair of gloves, which are the pair of gloves I actually use, but once again, I only have 1 pair of them. They serve a specific purpose. I'm not gonna get rid of them. These, however, I'm perfectly willing to get rid of because honestly, I thought I'd already gotten rid of them. They're fingerless gloves. I had one of those phases. And now I have 3 black beanies and 1 gray one. I definitely wear the black ones more often, which is why I have more of them. However, this one at one point I lost, and that's why I got the second one, and then I found this one. So now I have 3. I don't think I need 3. Okay, so I just went and tried on all 3 of the black beanies, and I think since I only want to have 2 of them, I'm actually going to discard the one that I got as a replacement for the one that I lost. And plus also this one that I got as a replacement already has like a hole in it, so it's just, this is definitely the one to discard if I'm only going to keep 2. And I'm also going to keep the gray one because although I don't wear it as much as the black one, I do like it and I do wear it. So that's it for the accessories. So now it's time to move on to the shoes, which is definitely going to be the most difficult one tonight. Okay, so I currently have exactly 10 pairs of shoes. Like I said, none of these categories tonight are huge. I definitely have a much smaller shoe collection than most people. But as always, let's start with the easiest ones because you'll soon see why. Wow, look at these. A pair of completely black plain Vans. These are so boring. These are also the shoes I wear pretty much every single day. And then there's this pair of bobs that is completely destroyed that I've been planning on replacing for forever. And yet, if I'm not wearing those Vans, I'm wearing these. These shoes spark joy so much that even though they're completely falling apart and I could replace them, I still haven't because I just still enjoy these completely destroyed shoes. I don't know why. So these are staying. Then there's my only pair of quote unquote nice shoes. These certainly aren't my favorite shoes I own, but they do serve a really specific purpose that I need them for, and I've never found other ones that I would prefer over these. So these stay. Next are these really old, like purposely distressed checkered Vans. I like them, but I don't remember the last time I wore them. And I mean that literally, it could have been like 3 or 4 years ago. I have no idea. And I think if I were gonna change it up one day and grab any given pair of shoes, I think these would be last on the list. So I think these have served their purpose. On the flip side, I have these that I literally maybe have worn once or twice, but I still love the design of them. Honestly, I think I just forget I have these because I grab the same pair of shoes every single day. I do really love this design though. I really think they spark joy. I just forget I own them. Maybe I need to do probation with these too because I really do like these. I just have only worn them maybe once or twice. So let's say if these aren't in my regular shoe rotation by the end of the year, they get discarded. I think that's a fair way to go about this because I don't feel great about keeping them when I never wear them, but I really genuinely do love these. I just wear the same pair of shoes every single day like a weirdo. You know what? I think I'm gonna discard these. I went into this thinking that I would keep these because there's always a use for flip-flops, but I think I would always grab for these before the flip-flops. I can't think of a situation I would be in where I would wear these over these. Now we're left with the painful ones. This custom pair of laceless Converse. I love the design of these. I'm absolutely obsessed with the design of these, but they are so uncomfortable. I don't think they're too small. Maybe I just haven't worn them enough times for them to be broken in, but like how many times does that really take? I'm not sure. I think I'm gonna do the same thing with these as I did with the gray Vans because I love this design. And if they can like be broken in, if they need to still be broken in and they won't rub my feet the way that they do anymore, I would wear these all the time. So if these are not in my normal shoe rotation by the end of the year, I will discard them then. But for now, the design does still really spark joy, so I'm gonna keep them. And then there's my collection of combat boots. These mostly come out when it's raining or snowing. That's essentially when I grab these. I'm really torn about these because although I don't wear them a ton, they do each have their specific differences. Like aesthetically, I like the shorter ones better, but the taller is more utilitarian. They're also the most comfortable and the ones that I wear the most. And then looking at these next to the other two, I think these are aesthetically my favorite, but I definitely wear these the least. I think these might be the least comfortable just because they're more of a snug, tight fit. But they also tend to make me feel the most confident because they have a slightly higher heel on them, so I feel like taller. But I also feel like I don't wear these enough to justify keeping all of them. Okay friends, behold the power of trying things on. I have discovered why I don't wear these. It's actually the opening of the boot that I have a problem with. The opening of this is quite a bit larger than the spot where the opening hits on my leg. So it creates this really awkward gapping between my leg and the sides of the shoe that I just think looks awkward at that spot. And I think that is why I never wear these. So I think I'm going to comfortably discard these. So I think now I feel comfortable keeping both of these pairs. And with that, I think we're done. Okay, so I just put all 3 of those categories in the spots that I want them to be, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Before, I couldn't fit all of my shoes on one shelf, and now they fit all on one. And I was able to put the beanies at the end. My boots and beanies used to be up here, but now this is completely empty and ready for whatever else can go up there. This is also where I had my backpack before, but now I have both my purse and the tote bag that I kept inside of there. That's one of her tips that I'd never tried before. She suggests storing bags inside of other bags in order for the bags to all keep their shape. And I hadn't tried that before, but actually putting the tote bag and the purse inside of the backpack did help the backpack maintain a little bit of its shape. So that's definitely a new tip that, at least so far, I'm finding useful. We'll see if I continue to enjoy it going forward. So that completes the clothes section of my KonMari declutter. I feel like this time around it was a lot more difficult than it has been in the past, both in my original like big full KonMari declutter and all of the small ones I've done in the past few years. I'm not sure if it's my mindset this time through, because I'm really trying to take this seriously and like really hone in on what I truly genuinely want to keep. And I think I just keep second guessing myself about how I really feel about things. But at the end of the day, I do feel 100% confident that everything I've chosen to discard are things that do not spark joy anymore, things that I do not want to own anymore, that are adding clutter to my life. So I feel really comfortable knowing that. What I don't feel comfortable about is the fact that the book section is next. I'm definitely gonna have to take a few days in between. I'm probably gonna wait till the weekend to tackle books because I have a lot of books and they also tend to be sentimental items as well. So this, I think, is going to be the trickiest category for me for many reasons, but I will save that discussion for the books video. Let's wrap this thing up. Let me know down in the comments what you thought of this video, what you might like to see more of in the series going forward, since this is a living, breathing thing that I'm still working on and still working my way through. As always, links to all my social media are down in the description, especially Goodreads and Twitter. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I'd love to be friends with all of you on there. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.